Chime 8:37. I'm Jim Gearhart along with Eric Scott. Wednesday, March 7. And Eric, as you said, Governor Christie is spending a moment with us on the phone. Christie, good morning.
Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Good. Governor, we got to love this. For the first time, 3 top elected officials are duking it out to see who gets to lower our taxes.
I mean, listen, Jim, that's my message this morning, and I was saying it yesterday in Monmouth County. You know, when we were elected, we said we're going to turn Trenton upside down. This morning's the proof.
It is. There's got to be a comet coming by, or wise men in Menunkachunk or something on camels. I mean, this is a wondrous event.
Well, you know what it is when you decide to do things the tough way, as we did the first 2 years, made a lot of cuts. You know, we've got less workers on the state government payroll today, Jim, than when Christie Whitman left office in 2001. I mean, we're doing real things to bring down the size and the cost of government. We can now do the things we need to do, like lowering taxes, and that's why I was so encouraged by Senator Sweeney's proposal. It's not exactly what I proposed, as you know, but both of us are now saying reduce income taxes 10%.
Yeah.
He wants to do it through a credit. I want to do it through a rate cut. I want to give it to everybody. He wants to give it to just some. We're going to be able to figure out a way to compromise this. The real outlier here, unfortunately, is the Assembly, who continues to want to raise taxes.
Well, you got Assemblyman Greenwald. He's popping up like the characters in the cornfield on Hee Haw. You know, the other guys are there, so he pops up with one.
Well, you know, listen, this is the same guy who wants to allow municipalities to have an income tax of their own, which is just what we need, Jim. We need another tax. So Luke Greenwald is Mr. Tax. He wants to raise income taxes at the state level. He wants to institute income taxes at the local level. He's the outlier. When you look at what's happening among the Senate Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate and the Assembly and the governor's office, everyone is saying, let's lower income taxes. Now, whether it's going to be through a credit or through a rate cut, I'm ready to sit down with Steve Sweeney and negotiate that. How many people get the tax cut? I'm ready to negotiate that. But what I'm thrilled about this morning is when I came here 2 years ago, if I told you we were going to be cutting taxes 2 years later and getting Democrats to agree with me to cut taxes, you would have told me I was crazy.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Eric,
no question that you're going to veto a millionaire's tax hike if it comes through.
No question.
No question. Senate President Sweeney, though, he wouldn't commit one way or the other. If you heard what he told Jim, it was basically that he's got a plan, he's going to work on his plan. That does not include a hike in the millionaire's tax at this point, regardless of what happens in the Assembly. Have you guys spoken about this issue?
Sure, and I've told him what I told him for the last 2 years. If they pass it, I'll veto it. So why don't we work on something that we can get done? And I think it's telling that it's not in his plan. I don't think Steve Sweeney thinks we need to raise taxes on anybody. The fact is that because we've cut spending, because we've cut the size of government, and because of those things, and some of the business tax cuts we've done, we're now seeing economic growth. And I think another important thing from Senator Sweeney's release yesterday is he now accepts our revenue projection. And that's a big moment. Yeah. Remember, when I first put out the budget, they said, oh, these revenue projections are too much. Well, now they've gotten a chance to look at it, and they agree because we see jobs growing in New Jersey. We see economic growth getting better. And so what I think Senator Sweeney's concluded is that we don't need to raise taxes on anybody.
Is Assembly Speaker Oliver at the table on these discussions at this point? Then why would the Assembly put out a budget that is so surely going to fail if it reaches your desk and may fail if it even hits the Senate?
Because they're playing politics.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You and Senator Sweeney are beginning to sound, if you're not on the same page, you're on the same chapter.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, somebody else decides to jump up and say, hey, I can get my picture in the paper, too, here.
Well, that's because these are people who are playing politics and trying to become something. Remember, in politics, I've said this many times, Eric, on the Ask the Governor show. You know, I had an old political science professor who told me there's 2 types of people in politics. People who want to be something and people who want to do something. And beware that people want to be something. What you're seeing from the Assembly Democrats and playing politics is these are all wannabes. They all want to be something. Senator Sweeney and I are trying to get something done. And so it doesn't mean, like I've said before, I'm not going to get everything I want out of this. Senator Sweeney's not going to get everything he wants. But neither one of us are going to compromise our principles. But there is a boulevard between those 2 points, and I think we're getting there.
All right, you're not going to get what you want. He's not going to get what he wants. But you're saying the taxpayers are going to get something one way or the other.
I am completely confident, unless the Assembly decides that it's more important for them to play politics and to raise taxes, then we're going to get this done. And I think in the end, what they're going to conclude is the same thing Senator Sweeney and I have concluded, which is people deserve income tax relief. He wants a credit. I want a rate cut. But he and I will work that out. I'm confident of that. I don't know where to land this morning, Jim, as we're talking today. But what I'm confident of is he and I will sit down at the table, and we will do the best we can to work something out. But imagine, you're listening here this morning, his plan is phased in over 4 years. My plan is phased in over 3 years. Imagine that if for the next 3 to 4 years, every year, your income taxes went down in New Jersey. Imagine how disorienting that will be for a public that had these same Trenton Democrats raise their taxes and fees 115 times in the 8 years before I became governor. Leadership matters. Who you elect matters. I said Monmouth County yesterday.
This would be a
lot if John Corzine had been reelected.
Yeah, this would be a phenomenon that would reverberate, I think, across the land. Here you've got two very strong personalities of opposite and often antagonistic political parties who actually have put something together that accrued to the advantage of the taxpayers. That's rare.
Working for the people, Jim.
That's rare.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. But I'll tell you this, I feel very, very confident this morning that we're going to be able to work this out, but there's going to be a lot of other things we're going to be able to get done in the next 4 months. Shared services reform, which the towns need to continue to control what we spend in property taxes. There are going to be things, I think, that we're going to be able to get done, but Assembly Democrats have to decide that they don't want to start playing gubernatorial politics in 2012. We can wait till 2013. They can wait to do that. Let's spend the time we have now not being wannabes, not being politicos, but actually being public servants and getting stuff done. That's why I'm so happy about what Senator Sweeney's proposed, to come on board and say income taxes have to go down 10%, no matter what the mechanism is. That's a great day for the people of this state.